Welcome to this week's edition of More Insights and Strategy Hot Desk Podcast, episode 23. I'm Melody Brue, and I am joined by Robert Kramer, VP and Principal Analyst of ERP and Enterprise Data. Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday. It doesn't feel like Monday, does it?
It's been a long couple of weeks of travel and good stuff happening, and it just seems like it's a little later in the week that we've already got started. But we're gonna roll today with Monday.
We are going to roll with it. Yep. Okay. Well, on this show, we're going to talk about all the tools, trends, and trajectories in people and marketing tech, enterprise apps, ERP, CRM, and then the glue that holds it all together, Robert's favorite thing, data. Um, this week, we're going to be talking about the Oracle Analyst Summit, Microsoft and Google earnings, and then we're talking about healthcare having a moment. And just for a disclaimer, because we are talking about earnings, this show is for information and entertainment purposes only. We will be discussing publicly traded companies, but the contents should be not taken as investment advice. Okay, let's get started. So last week, we were both Northern California at the Oracle Analyst Summit, and they had a couple of different tracks. You started out actually in the ERP and data track. So why don't you start out with giving a little information about what you learned, what you saw, what was up there?
Yeah, first of all, it was a great time to see you in person, and we got to through a lot of side discussions. I think that part of these conferences are about not necessarily what you hear from the subject matter experts from the vendor, but all the discussions that you have around dinner and breaks and having a chance to really get the insights from some of these people that work for Oracle and understanding what their personalities are to that actual product offerings that they represent. So I was actually involved in the ERP one, and the ERP is the focus is still very similar to what some of their competitors are doing, that they're investing in data management, AI, innovation, to really kind of go back to where the data starts and the structure of the core of these systems, and it's really the ERP system. So they focused on new technology that is coming about, and a lot of it is around additional features and new applications to tack on to their ERP systems. But similar to some of the other vendors, there's still an issue with getting that data from the ERP systems to these business applications. So we'll call the ERP systems the enterprise applications. But the business applications, there's still no great way to get it there. They say they have a way to get it there, but it's not in a format that's going to guarantee that the quality of it is good. And then you still have that change management that we keep on talking about. One other thing, I was also involved in the autonomous database, and a bunch of their updates are all centered around new features of the growth of it around the Microsoft Azure and the cloud and some other things regarding data, but we can't really talk about it because it's under embargo really for the rest of the week.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was under NDA. So I think just kind of talking broadly, I went to both the HCM and the CX tracks. And from a really broad standpoint, I will say that I really liked, some of the discussions just around embedded AI. I think what they're doing with Redwood and kind of some of the applications that they're building there, I just really think like the UI is really nice, and that they're making a big effort to kind of change that sort of legacy look and feel of Oracle products. If you look at from the legacy to now, but where I feel like they're sort of missing the mark is they talk a lot about the product and what it does, but they don't talk a whole lot about what it does for you. And what I mean by that is there's not enough focus on the benefit. And, we're a group of analysts, and so obviously we can come to our own conclusions, but I'm going to make the assumption that this similar presentation is being made to sales. And what I see is that conversation is very focused towards an IT professional and not necessarily recognizing new seats at the table. And
That's a good point.
especially in HCM and CX, there are new buyers at the table. And so, where I would kind of say that they maybe need to think about it from a CX, CRM, HCM perspective is recognizing the new buyers at the table and really going into that, what it can do for you beyond just what it does. And I think if they can do that, I really think they have a winner. And, I'll give just one example and then we can move on because we have lots of other things to talk about. In comparing some of their, and there are some things that are under NDA that they are launching, but they have some features that are similar to like a Dayforce or a Workday, and where they may be winning on product features, they're going to lose on messaging.
Mm.
So that's where, kind of, I think they've got to get that
Well,
next step.
do you think that, and this is just an interesting subject, I see that exactly what you are, that companies are selling on features and functionality, but not business impact. And then companies don't see that ROI. They just see these are great features, but how do I get to that business impact, which is more important?
Right. And I think that comes from, and Oracle, I think, is historically a very IT driven business where that's who they're talking to is IT. And with the economy, they're more often now talking to the CFO. The C-suite is more involved in the decision making. It's not just IT. So they got to get that messaging right. So anyway, we'll have much more to share when we can share kind of what those product announcements are, and then maybe we can help tell the story of what it does for them.
We can do the PowerPoint for them.
Yes. So let's move on to Microsoft. They just released their Q3 2024 earnings. Any thoughts there from you? Because I just finished talking.
Well, I think it was, synonymous with some of their competitors. Their revenue was up, probably one of the highest ever. I think it was 61.9 billion, which outshot what targeted from Wall Street estimated to be, I think, about $1 billion lower. Their earnings per share were about 10 cents, 11 cents more per share than originally. So it's about 17% year over year. They surpassed really the growth that they were expecting. And there's a lot of things that had kind of a part of that, and that was their cloud, that was their Azure, that was their Copilot and their gaming performance. So I think that this is a sign of how they're going to be very successful for the years to come, and they're marking 2025 as being a pretty strong year for them. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, my focus obviously is, kind of on the productivity and business process. That revenue was 19.6 billion, which is up 12% year over year. But that growth is significant because it was really focused on Office Commercial, Office Consumer, LinkedIn, which is actually really interesting, and I think kind of could be a separate conversation. Also Dynamics products and cloud services. Copilot Studio, which is for customizing Copilot for Microsoft 365 and building your own Copilot, was up 175% quarter over quarter.
Wow.
So there's not a long enough history for that because it's a somewhat new product, but already has 30,000 customers across industries. So I think we're seeing a huge adoption of Copilot. I think the average revenue per user is increasing with Copilot. They did say, and I don't have the numbers exactly, I'm not sure that they released the numbers exactly, but they had a huge, and I was actually pretty happy and somewhat surprised to hear this, but they had a huge amount of downloads of the Copilot app, the free Copilot app from their Super Bowl commercial. And
The marketing.
yeah, and you know, a lot of times we like to say, it's our job to be right. So I can say I wasn't entirely right on this one because I was like, I don't know that that ad totally speaks to the audience because it was somewhat I don't know the word. It wasn't like really straight to the point of like this is what it can do for you. Um, it was very artsy. I mean, but it's a Super Bowl commercial, so a lot of people watched it. But they did say that they had a lot of downloads from that, so a lot of people using that. And I have to say that I do think, and a funny thing is we heard this at Oracle, when people have a consumer quality experience in their business apps, they're happier. That's the whole thing around Redwood, right? And I
Hmm.
think the more that Microsoft can have people using Copilot at home for personal use, free, whatever, they're going to be more likely to use it at work. They're going to be more comfortable using it at work. I think that crossover between home and work is becoming those lines are being blurred, and I think so it's smart to be reaching out to that user base that may not have their hands on it yet, because the fact is people are going to use it whether it's sanctioned at work or not. So that's kind
Good
of
point.
what I see in their earnings. And if you don't have anything else to say, we can go on to.
Just one quick thing, so they say that 60% of Fortune 500 companies are using Microsoft 365 Copilot, but it's one of the unique companies that hits business and I guess the ERP, CRM, and workplace. So they have the chance to utilize the Copilot throughout. So they might have a little bit of a leg up because their customer base is more spread out.
Mhm. Yeah, so I actually will be releasing a earnings report research note this week, and I have a little bit more detail about how it's being used, who's using it, and some
Cool.
more details. So I don't want to give all that away just yet, but um, switching to Google's earnings. So this was Google's Q1 2024. I'll start off with this one. So Google
Yep,
Cloud
please.
revenue was up 28%, and their growth was fueled in GCP with I'm going to use the quotes here, an increasing contribution from AI and strong Google Workspace space growth. So, and the company said that this workspace growth came primarily from increases in ARPU, so average revenue per user. So again, I will be releasing a research note this week, kind of digging more into both kind of where that comes from a workspace perspective, also some of the announcements from Google Cloud Next, because a lot of that, sort of contributes to where they're seeing growth in workspace and some of the announcements that they made there. Also, where they're really kind of driving those AI bets. Um, so again, I don't want to give too much away, but kind of that's where I'm seeing there. Obviously, you also know that they released a dividend. I think that's interesting. Um,
Very.
but what do you give me your take, and then we can go back to that.
Yeah. So, I'm covering the data cloud portion, and there's a lot of new enhancements, which I'm actually getting ready to release a research note or paper actually on the data cloud enhancements that are going on and how that's affecting really their transition for this year and next year. And it deals a lot with Gemini and AI and the data management and the BigQuery and how they're making it easier to utilize the data cloud. They're obviously growing tremendously as we're seeing with the numbers that are coming out. And it comes back to what you just said with the dividend. I think it's very unique that a company does come out with a dividend, but I know that you have maybe more of a take on it than I do. So what's your thought on that dividend?
Yeah. I mean, unique definitely for a tech company, and it's unique. Well, it's the first time that Google's ever done it, and it skyrocketed them to a $2 trillion company. I don't actually haven't looked today what the stock is. Um, But my real take on this is that Google is making some really hefty AI bets, right? And that's driving their growth. But that these hefty AI bets come with hefty capital expenditures. And so issuing dividends limits their cash on hand for those investments into product development and acquisition. So it's just an interesting time for them to do that. They've done layoffs to try to cut their costs. And so they're trying to balance these investments with their bottom line costs. And so it's interesting. So I wonder, and I've read a little bit, of kind of what Wall Street is saying about what they're trying to signal to the market. So, um, like I said in our disclaimer, this is not for investment advice, and I'm certainly not an advisor. But I think I know enough to get myself in trouble. But I just thought it was interesting, and certainly will be kind of trying to dissect that a little bit more to figure out where this is coming from. But overall, excellent quarters for both companies. Clearly seeing a path to monetization for both companies in their AI bets.
Mhm.
And I think, obviously seeing adoption of Gemini, of Copilot, and really interesting to see, where that's going to go. And I've heard so many people talking about kind of this next wave of AI. And is the next wave of AI going to be these AI agents instead of co-pilots? And so,
Mhm.
I think we'll watch this evolve, and it'll be really interesting. It's a great time to be involved in technology. I mean, it's always been
Absolutely.
good to be involved in technology, but certainly there are big turning points in time, and this is one of them. And
Yep.
so it's interesting. So speaking of big turning points in time, healthcare tech is having a moment. So
Yeah, they are.
I'm gonna have kick this off to you because you were in the keynote with Larry Ellison from Oracle. I was not. You guys got like a special little room, you and Matt, um, on day one where the rest of us weren't there yet. Tell us about kind of the company's move to Nashville, but also and kind of what that signals, but also just what he talked about and the importance of their investments in healthcare.
Yeah, so I saw Larry actually, he was at Oracle Cloud World last year in Las Vegas, and he was in the room the other day, actually on video in the room. But he he's so flamboyant and so interesting to talk about and so passionate. He grabs your attention so quick, but he has a love for the healthcare industry and also the agricultural industry. And he's trying to find a way to streamline how we can cure certain diseases or utilize AI and data, of course, and actually AI to help the data, uh, work in a way that it should to pair different things together from I guess testing and methods to moving trials up and utilizing the performance of doctors and how they can be more efficient. So he is wanting to go to Nashville, and there's a healthcare industry hub there. There's a lot of major companies there, and there's major medical centers there as well. But he some of the things that he talked about is how to make doctors more efficient, kind of going back to what I was saying, that how AI can interpret the notes from a client patient session and then bring those notes back into saving the doctor 20% of his time, to taking the trials and advancing those based upon re-indexing things to take those trials to the forefront. So companies that are waiting in line for years and years to get their trials seen and tested, that they could actually understand this by the indexing of the data, where they could be seen a little bit sooner and then curing certain types of cancers, because that's one of the ones that he's very focused on. But he wants to take this advancement and have some dedicated centers from an industry perspective in Nashville. And Nashville was picked for those reasons that I talked about. But I think this has been in the works for quite some time, and it looks like it's going to begin construction soon. But the offices were going to be operating probably, I think, towards 2030. But what's your thoughts on this?
Well, it definitely healthcare came up a lot in the different tracks that I was in. So in CRM, HCM, CX, healthcare kept coming up as, the sort of like the example or the demo or whatever. And in some cases it was the first sort of vertical that they built a solution for. And there was some really interesting data points. And one of them, and I can't remember which track this was in, but one of them was well, one there was a bunch of different, like, scheduling tools and things that really help with these frontline workers and solving some of the real issues that we've had over the last few years, with frontline workers and burnout and, all of these things. But one of the things that they uncovered was that AI, when tested side by side with a brand new medical school graduate, knowledge base, they were similar. So, that's great. Our medical school graduates are just as smart as AI. But from a bedside manner, the AI actually came out higher. And the reason for that is AI doesn't get tired. AI doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't get moody. I mean, so there are some real things that we can learn, and I think I talk about
Yeah.
this a lot, that there's so much more to AI than productivity. There's the things that we can learn from it, and you were talking about these, like the medical trials. AI may pick up on some patterns that humans may miss. And
Hmm.
even from like a symptom standpoint, if I have, I have an eye infection and I have this thing that hurts my knee and I have this and that, all these ailments that a doctor may never put them all together, but AI may actually
Sure.
put that together. And so there's ways that AI can really help from a healthcare perspective.
Hmm.
So,
Consistency.
so yeah, I mean, clearly Oracle is making a huge investment, in healthcare, and I think always has. One of the executives that was doing one of the demos, I asked, "Why are you starting with healthcare in this particular product?" It was an HCM product, and he said, "Well, anything that gets beaten with the healthcare stick gets priority around here." So, clearly Oracle, is very dedicated to healthcare. But, I mean, I've just noticed this as a trend lately in general. Recently, PayPal launched an integration with a digital wallet integration with a healthcare provider. Um, PayPal did a study that found that 50% of PayPal users and 42% of Venmo users said that they would pay their healthcare bills faster if they had a way to do it through using PayPal or Venmo. So, like when they get a bill in the mail, this partnership is with Trust Commerce. Ring Central just recently announced a unified patient care solution for healthcare organizations. So this is like a pre-built integration with, like major EHR providers like Epic and, Allscripts. I just keep seeing this across like pretty much every vertical that I cover. It's like, oh, this solution for healthcare. And when you think about it, historically, healthcare is a clipboard industry.
Hmm.
And everything has been done operationally. It's very manual, even scheduling. Nurses and doctors are scheduled, and a supervisor has to go in and log it and approve it. And now there are solutions that are automatically scheduling and or at least digitally scheduling and digitizing records so that pharmacies can talk to each other and, um, you know, uh, just recently, 8x8 announced their solution for proactive outreach, which allows for companies to send patient reminders.
Hmm.
And so we talk about, product, what a product does versus what a product does for you. When people get a text or a WhatsApp patient reminder, they're less likely to no show. So that doesn't waste a doctor's time and, lost revenue. So just across the board, I think the digitization of the healthcare industry is better for doctors and it's better for patient outcomes.
Yeah. Well, there's also been many compliance and regulations, that have taken it to a different level, which is always needed. But at the same time, all these things that you're talking about make it more efficient to, in the end, allow for the focus on better medicine, right? And that's what we all looking for. So
Yeah.
the average age of living is longer, but we want to see those people, who aren't living as long get the treatment that they should to live that long. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think, you raise a really good point about the compliance. So I think in the past with things like HIPAA, there wasn't a secure way to transfer files, say from one doctor to another. That's why we used to have X-rays being hand
I was
delivered
ready for you to say that.
from a
Yep.
doctor to doctor. Now, with better security, they can actually be transferred electronically. So as we have better security, better digital security, better cybersecurity, these records can be shared across different, doctors and health records can be shared with permission, obviously. So I think that's a really good point.
It's a game of inches though. When someone's sick, they need this information and they can't wait. So all the efficiencies that
Absolutely.
Oracle's trying to do are huge for the long term. And kudos to him for putting such an effort into healthcare and taking it to a different level. But what do you think of the actual city of Nashville as far as this taking place?
So I love Nashville. And there's been a lot of movement to Nashville. I know they got a major tax incentive to go there, but
Hmm.
also I have heard from several people who have been there for different reasons for healthcare, and have, said great things about that. Um, It'll be interesting what happens to the real estate market, just like what happened to Austin, where I live, when the big tech migration happened. So, we'll see about that. I don't know what their mandate is from a return to office standpoint. It seems like they're pretty flexible with their workforce. So, um, I don't know. We'll see. I think, from a city standpoint, it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great place to live. It's a booming city. Hopefully, the cost of living doesn't go up too much because that's not a great thing for people's health either.
Good
Anyway,
point.
let's move on. We gotta get on to, what's coming up. Where are you off to next, or what do you got going on?
Well, my wife has shut me down for a few weeks. We're expecting a baby probably
That's
this week
right.
or next week, and so
So you're
yeah,
at
I'm gonna
home.
sit tight and hopefully get a little bit of sleep and get her more sleep than me, and get her over the hump and the baby situated. But yeah, be born in the next 2 weeks and baby girl. So
That's
that's where I'm at.
exciting.
I
Very
know. What?
exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But then I'll be traveling probably starting later this month or next. How about yourself?
We'll see about that, but, I like the optimism. I am home actually for a couple of weeks. I haven't been home for a few weeks, so this is nice. And then I'm off to Denver for Avaya Engage, which is their big user conference. So I was just with Avaya for their Analyst Summit, but this is their user conference. So they did have a couple of customers at the Analyst Summit, but it's always a different thing when you really get a chance to engage, no pun intended, with customers. So
Great.
that'll be a nice opportunity to spend some time with customers, spend some time with the rest of their leadership team, and also see my daughter, who has been studying in Chile and is back. Will
Beautiful.
be back by then. Actually, she's not back yet. Will be back at University of Colorado, Boulder, and there's just a lot of other stuff going on. I got a few research papers I'm working on, and we have some work to do on our game time tech
Yep.
vertical. So
I,
anyway,
I will. I will be attending a few virtual events. So Blue Yonder, which is an SCM application, mid May. Informatica, which is a data integration platform, that'll be mid May, and then we have a Microsoft event as well. So those three I'll be attending virtually, and then hopefully attending Microsoft has some other ones later next month as well. So looking forward to all these coming up.
Awesome. Well, baby comes first, and you can always just have, virtual, and we'll all cover for you. Don't worry.
Thank you. Be fun.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up, but thank you everyone who has joined. And if you have any feedback for us, if you have any questions for us, if you have any thoughts on what we talked about, leave us a note. If you like what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. Find us on Twitter, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.